It was supposed to be a miracle. Made in China meant scale, speed, domination. It built fortunes, filled Walmart shelves, powered Silicon Valley dreams. But now, a Xiaomi EV bursts into flames on a city street, its driver trapped inside. No way out. A factory in Zhejiang sits on 40 tons of unsold plasticware. No buyers, no orders, just dust. And beneath the LED glow of Shenzhen's skyscrapers, engineers and technicians sleep on sidewalks, flipping egg pancakes to survive. The miracle has become a monument to collapse. And the label that once ruled the world now means nothing. Because the truth is this: Made in China didn't die in headlines. It died quietly, in back alleys, inside locked bank accounts, and beneath the folding tables of night markets. So what killed the dream? And how much longer can Beijing pretend it's still alive? The footage is grainy, but the horror is clear. A white Xiaomi SU-7 sits twisted against a barrier. Flames shoot from beneath the hood. Inside, a woman screams. The doors don't open. There's no manual release. The EV's smart system has failed again. By the time first responders arrive, it's too late. She believed in Made in China. She believed it meant innovation, progress, safety. Instead, it meant a coffin on wheels. This isn't a one-off. It's one in a series. BYD vehicles bursting into flames while charging. Huawei 80M7 crashing uncontrollably at low speeds. Xiaomi's autonomous mode plowing into cyclists without braking. All followed by the same ritual. Deflection, denial, deletion. And behind every fire is a factory. Still running, still exporting, still cashing in on the last fumes of a dying slogan. Made in China used to mean dominance. Now it means danger. What happened? The answer lies not just in the smoke and wreckage, but in the warehouses and trade shows where the illusion of demand is collapsing. In Zhejiang, a plastic goods factory is stacked to the ceiling with unsold containers. The owner, Li Chong, used to ship 70% of his products to the US. After tariffs jumped to over 50%, his American clients vanished. He tried to shift to domestic sales, but consumers weren't buying. His high-quality export-grade goods were too expensive. He started discounting. Still nothing. Now he stands in a warehouse that looks more like a mausoleum. "We're just waiting for the day the lights go off," he says. He's not alone. Across Guangdong, Fujian, and Jiangsu, factory owners report the same thing. Orders evaporated, supply chains shrinking, e-commerce transition plans failing. And yet the government insists everything is fine. Officials boast about digital transformation, live stream sales, domestic market resilience. But in the Canton Fair, once the pride of China's trade empire, half the booths are empty. Exhibitors whisper about fake visitors, about sales reps brought in by local governments just to fill the aisles and keep up appearances. The truth? There are no orders, only optics. And while exports disappear, production keeps going, not for buyers but for show. To keep employment numbers stable, to maintain GDP appearances, to allow local officials to check the box labeled normal operations. Behind the scenes, factory managers admit they're running machines for 2 hours a day, just enough to create the illusion of activity. Others turn off lights, cut staff, but keep the doors open. "It's not about selling anymore," one said. "It's about surviving the audit." This is how Made in China lives on. Not as a global standard, but as a ghost, propped up by political necessity. And the cost of the illusion: people, savings, safety. Because when quality slips and truth is banned, the only thing left is the fallout. Like the mother who died in her smart EV. Like the factory worker who now sleeps beside his unused loading dock. Like the truck driver whose account was frozen because a bank needed liquidity. Made in China didn't just fail. It burned. It froze. Cracked from the inside out. And the ones who built it, they're the first to be buried beneath it. When the world stopped buying, Beijing told its factories, "Don't worry, sell at home." They called it internal circulation, a grand solution, a domestic miracle, patriotic pivot. But there was one problem: the people couldn't afford it. In March 2025, Consumer spending in Beijing dropped 9.9%. In Shanghai, down 14.1%. The country's wealthiest cities frozen in place. If they're not buying, who is? The answer? No one. That's what Alien learned the hard way. She owns a mid-sized furniture factory in Dongguan. For 15 years, her high-end chairs sold to Europe and the US. After the tariffs hit, her orders collapsed. So she joined the government's push. She attended live stream training, joined trade expos, set up on JD.com. The results? Zero sales. Why? Because her products, built to pass strict foreign inspections, were priced too high for domestic consumers now scrambling to pay rent and buy food. She lowered prices. Still nothing. At the Canton Fair, her booth stood for 5 days. Visitors came, took pictures, nodded politely, left. Not one order, not even an inquiry. And she wasn't alone. Over 60% of foreign trade enterprises that pivoted to domestic markets reported net losses within their first year. Not because they were lazy, not because they didn't adapt, but because the market simply isn't there. Beijing's propaganda keeps saying, support Chinese brands, buy domestic. But the average Chinese consumer today isn't patriotic. They're broke. And when they do buy, it's not from livestream stars or showroom booths. It's from Taobao discount stores, flash sales, and secondhand markets. The party doesn't want that truth aired. So it keeps pushing the narrative that internal circulation is working, that small businesses are thriving, that factory to consumer is the new revolution. But behind the live stream cameras, the system is rotting. One toy exporter said quietly, "We sell our reject stock domestically now. Scratched, defective, misassembled, nobody checks. Nobody cares. As long as we slap a domestic edition label on it, it moves." Another admitted, "We sell export rejects at triple the price inside China. The locals think it's premium. It's garbage." So what's really happening? Made in China is now feeding off China itself. When the foreign market collapsed, the system didn't rebuild. It recycled not just goods, but people. Engineers turned vendors. Factory owners became live stream beggars. Middle-class professionals sell bubble tea under office towers they once worked in. Meanwhile, those at the top, the party-linked financiers, the politically connected suppliers, they're still shipping what's left of the good product overseas, or rerouting supply chains through Vietnam, Mexico, and Singapore under fake origin labels. The people? They're left with scraps. Worse, they're blamed when it fails. When sales numbers stay low, it's not the system's fault. It's the workers' fault. The entrepreneur didn't innovate enough. The consumer didn't buy local. The youth are too lazy. The poor don't understand their responsibility to the nation. But here's the truth. You cannot consume what you cannot afford. And you cannot rescue an empire with TikTok sales and discount coupons. The Chinese dream was built on exports, on demand, on cheap labor. When that collapsed, Beijing didn't change the model. It simply turned it inward. Now, instead of selling to the world, they're selling the illusion of success back to their own people. And the brand that once stood for global strength now stands for smoke, silence, and sidewalk stalls. Drive through the industrial zones of Zhejiang or Guangdong, and on the surface, everything still looks alive. Gates are open, lights are on, workers come and go, forklifts hum, but step inside, and it's all theater. Machines run for 2 hours a day, just enough to generate electricity bills. Orders are processed with empty pallets. One warehouse even installed fake cardboard stacks to appear full during government inspections. Why the charade? Because in red capitalism, optics are more valuable than output. Local officials must report active production. Factory owners need bank loans to stay liquid. So both sides agree, pretend, keep up appearances. As long as the machines spin and the CCTV cameras record movement, the spreadsheet looks good. Everyone survives one more quarter. But production? Dead. Export orders have flatlined. Tariffs cut deep. Supply chain shifts are permanent. American clients aren't coming back. European buyers moved on. Even Southeast Asia now builds its own. And yet, China keeps producing. Why? Because the illusion of made in China is more important than the product itself. Beijing can't admit the factory model has collapsed, because that would mean admitting the entire growth engine is broken. So instead, it props it up. Subsidies for electricity, low-interest loans from state banks, pressure on bosses to keep headcount stable. It's not an economy. It's a hostage situation. Factory owners don't make profits anymore. They manage losses, delay defaults, avoid shutdowns, smile for state media. One shoe exporter in Wenzhou admitted off-record, "We produce shoes that no one orders, ship them to a bonded warehouse, and leave them there. It makes our output look stable. But we're just stacking ghosts. Ghosts that pile up in ports from Ningbo to Shenzhen. Containers filled with goods that no one ordered. Floating inventory waiting for a market that doesn't exist. Meanwhile, companies that genuinely collapse? Silenced. Public closures are discouraged. Layoff reports are scrubbed from the internet. Some factories are quietly merged. Others just disappear overnight. Padlocks on the doors, workers unpaid, signs still hanging as if nothing happened. This is the Potemkin economy. Rows of businesses that appear active, designed for cameras, not customers. And when audits come, factory managers prep simulation days. Dress workers in uniform, run conveyor belts, load trucks with empty crates. It's theater for survival. One textile owner called it TikTok GDP. Looks great in clips, worthless in reality. And inside this charade, the pressure on small and medium businesses is suffocating. To qualify for subsidies, they must support domestic initiatives, embrace digital reform, engage with internal circulation campaigns. If they speak out about fraud, bankruptcy, or fake data, they risk blacklisting. No more bank credit. No access to government contracts. A slow death sentence. So most stay silent. Or worse, they participate in the lie. They live stream their factory, show off inventory, talk about growth potential, all while taking side gigs on the weekend just to pay their staff. Because in China's post-collapse economy, survival doesn't depend on productivity. It depends on narrative compliance. And that's the ultimate betrayal of the made in China dream. It wasn't just supposed to be a label. It was a promise. A path from sweatshop to superpower. From working poor to working class. From world's factory to world's innovator. But now it's a scam. A slogan stretched so far it covers rot. EVs that explode. Goods that can't sell. Workers who live stream during lunch breaks just to afford dinner. One factory owner in Foshan said it plainly. Made in China is still alive, but only because the government won't let it die. What he didn't say, but everyone knows, is that it's already dead on the inside. All that's left is the sound of machines running for no one. They used to build the future. They ran machines, managed warehouses, assembled phones, stitched shoes, welded engines. They were the hands behind Made in China. Now, they fight over sidewalk corners to sell fried rice at midnight. At 7 p.m. in Shenzhen, the LED-lit glass towers cast long shadows over rows of food carts. Not part-time vendors. Not side hustles. These are full-time survivalists, former factory workers, engineers, even college grads, now flipping scallion pancakes, pouring bubble tea, begging for mobile tips. This isn't resilience. It's fallout. And it's everywhere. In Dongguan, a father sleeps in a van with his 2 kids. He used to work at a textile mill. Shut down last November. Now he sells used socks on the sidewalk. Some nights he makes 30 yuan. Others, nothing. He hasn't paid rent in 3 months. In Wuhan, a woman live streams dumpling recipes from a tarp-covered stall. She used to manage HR for a shipping firm. Now she cooks to survive and pleads with strangers to buy a virtual gift for 2 yuan. This is China's new middle class. Not on the rise, but on the edge. And still, the government calls it flexible employment. A euphemism for collapse. No contracts, no insurance, no safety net. Just a street corner, a table, and the hope that today's weather doesn't destroy tonight's income. It started slowly after COVID lockdowns after the first export wave collapsed. Then the banks began freezing accounts. Then factories laid off staff quietly, in waves. Then landlords raised rents because they, too, were desperate. And now it's everywhere. The sidewalks are full. The apartments are half empty. But even in the streets, competition is brutal. In Xi'an, a vendor was stabbed over a 2-meter space near a busy bus stop. In Chengdu, 2 food carts smashed each other's grills with metal bars. No police came, just more vendors, filling the space before the oil dried. It's chaos, organized by necessity, but ignored by the system, because admitting this would mean admitting failure. So the party leans harder into illusion. State media calls it entrepreneurial spirit. They highlight self-made livestream success. They film curated stalls with red banners and patriotic music. They avoid the men sleeping under plastic tarps, the women crying behind gas burners, the kids doing homework by flashlight. And the stories get darker. In Suzhou, a family of 3 was found dead in their apartment, carbon monoxide poisoning. The father lost his job in auto parts. The mother was selling on Taobao. They had no electricity. Their debts were piling. In the note, he wrote, "This wasn't the life we were promised." But even that story was censored. The post went viral, then vanished. The original account deleted. Online searches blocked. The official version? Under investigation. And yet, every block tells the same story. A young man sells tofu near a subway. A sign around his neck reads, "Graduated 2021. Finance major. No job. No family. No plan B." This is what Made in China has become. It used to be a job, then a badge of pride. Now, a broken contract between the state and its people. Work hard, follow the rules, and you'll rise. That was the deal. But now, those who followed the rules are punished first. They saved money, then had their accounts frozen. They started businesses, then were taxed to death. They tried to go digital, then drowned in algorithms and livestream competition. Meanwhile, those with connections thrive. Red capitalists, party-linked brands, subsidized unicorns that lose billions but stay afloat. They don't sell at street level. They don't stand in rain. They don't explain anything to anyone. The poor? They're not just poor. They're invisible. The vendors, the gig workers, the frozen accounts, the unpaid pensions. None of it makes it into official data, because survival in China now is off the record. And the scariest part? People are getting used to it. "I never thought I'd be sleeping in a stairwell," said one woman in Shanghai. "But now I just hope the security guard doesn't kick me out." That's what happens when a system collapses quietly. Not with explosions, but with shrinking dreams, fading options, and a new normal built on desperation. Made in China didn't just fail its consumers. It abandoned its creators. Made in China used to be unstoppable. It wasn't just a phrase, it was a brand. It stood for low cost, fast production, infinite scale. Walmart ran on it. Nike scaled with it. Amazon lived off it. But now, the world sees it differently. In 2024, foreign direct investment into China fell to a 30-year low. That same year, over $200 billion in foreign capital fled Chinese markets. And this wasn't just finance, this was trust, leaving the building. Because what global CEOs won't say publicly, they now whisper privately. We can't bet on China anymore. Why? Because investors don't just see factories, they see fragility. The EVs that explode on camera, the frozen bank accounts, the live stream vendors selling socks under skyscrapers, the youth sleeping under bridges. This is no longer a trade issue. It's a reputational contagion. And the symptoms are global. Apple ramped up its shift to Vietnam and India. HP moved supply lines to Mexico. Tesla scaled back its China exposure. Even Chinese companies like Shine and TikTok are distancing themselves, setting up operations abroad, hiding their origin, rebranding to survive. Because Made in China isn't just bad press. It's becoming bad business. And it's not just the private sector making moves. Governments are tightening the noose. The US continues to expand tariffs and tech restrictions. The EU is probing Chinese EV subsidies. Japan and Korea are strengthening strategic partnerships to bypass Chinese supply chains. Behind the scenes, even countries that once leaned toward Beijing are now backpedaling. Malaysia, scaling down BRI exposure. Kenya, quietly revising China loan agreements. Brazil, pushing for self-reliant manufacturing. What's happening is not a boycott. It's not war. It's a soft, global walkaway, because the world no longer trusts the narrative. GDP numbers are revised. Unemployment data excludes youth. Consumer confidence is declared stable, even when malls sit empty. And the more Beijing censors reality, the more the world believes something far worse is hiding. At the 2025 Shanghai International Expo, attendance dropped by 40%. Several Western brands pulled out. State media praised the event as a symbol of openness. But insiders knew better. Many pavilions were filled with Chinese vendors pretending to be buyers. Just like the factories, just like the trade fairs, just like the growth numbers. Empty frames, painted smiles, false floors. The illusion remains, but the foundation is cracking. Even China's own elite are hedging their bets. Wealthy families are moving assets to Singapore and Dubai. Golden visa inquiries in Portugal and Canada are surging. Crypto transfers have jumped. Offshore holding companies are being set up in record time. Because even the rich in China know, this is no longer about business cycles. This is about systemic survival. And yet, the party continues the performance. Launching recovery tours for Western journalists. Filling TikTok with influencers praising bullet trains and dumplings. Hiring PR firms to polish the China opportunity. But behind every sponsored post is a boardroom canceling expansion. Behind every promotional video is a CEO planning an exit. And behind every glowing GDP report is a factory, running on subsidy fumes, producing for no one. Because the world doesn't just want cheap anymore. It wants stability. It wants trust. It wants real. And in 2025, China offers none of that. So the label that once ruled global supply chains now sits in the discount bin of international commerce. Made in China no longer means scale. It means surplus. No longer means future. It means failure. The world won't announce its breakup with China. It'll just stop calling. And when the lights finally go out, the party may still say, "We're in control." But outside, the world will already have moved on. Here is part 4, conclusion plus twist plus call to action, 150 words. 4 script number 5. The Made in China nightmare, from exploding EVs to sidewalk chaos, delivering a powerful, cinematic closing with emotional weight and a haunting open-ended question. Part 4, conclusion plus twist. It started as a promise. Factories would rise. Wages would grow. Made in China would carry the hopes of 1 billion people to every corner of the world. But today, the cars explode, the warehouses overflow, and the people sleep on sidewalks beneath the neon lies of a miracle long expired. This isn't an economic slowdown. It's a betrayal systemic, silent, and savage. Because the dream didn't die from competition. It died from within, from fake numbers, from crushed workers, from a leadership that chose control over truth. So the only question left is this. If made in China no longer means the world, does it even mean anything to its own people anymore? Leave a comment, share the story, and stay with us. Because in the next episode, we'll expose the ghost cities, fake GDP, and financial sinkholes hiding behind China's last illusions.